In exercise 8.3, we're trying to name a bicyclic alkene, a bicyclic compound that has a double bond in it. So remember, the first step in naming these bicyclic compounds is to count up the total number of carbons in both of the rings. Now, not the carbons that point out of the rings, just the ones in the rings. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So those are all the carbons in the rings. Notice these other two are branches coming off of the rings. They're not in the rings. So we have 7. Now the prefix for 7 carbons is hept. And we do have a double bond in these rings. Got this double bond here. And so we're going to have an En. I'm going to leave a little space. You'll see why in a second. Let me actually move that even a little more. En. And in those rings, we only have hydrogen and carbon. So there are hydrocarbon, the suffix for that is E. Because we have 2 rings there, we're going to put the words bicyclo. Oops, E. Because we have 2 rings, we're going to put the prefix bicyclo in front. And remember that always when you have bicyclic compounds, in between the bicyclo and the parent name, you have brackets. And inside the brackets, you're going to say how many carbons you have on each side of the bridgehead carbons. So the bridgehead carbons are the carbons where the 2 rings meet. So that's going to be this carbon in front and this carbon in the back. Excluding those 2 carbons, how many carbons do you have to the left of them? Well, we have 2. How many carbons do you have to the right of them? If you were walking along the chain to get from one to the other, how many do you have? How many carbons would you pass over? Well, we'd have 1 and 2 again. Finally, if you were going to go the third way, go up and over, how many carbons would you pass by? Just 1. So we have those 3 numbers for the carbons on each side of those bridgehead carbons. We're going to put those in the brackets in descending order, separated by dots. So 2 dot 2 dot 1. So far the name we have for this backbone is bicyclo-2,2,1-heptene. Now the only thing is we haven't said where the double bond is located. Remember that when you number bicyclic rings, you always have to start numbering at one of the bridgehead carbons. So I'm going to start at this one in the back. No matter which one we start at, we hit the double bond at carbon number 2. Now if we kept numbering, we'd have 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Remember that you always have to number the largest chains first, and then you can go to the smaller part, the smaller edge of the ring. Now we numbered it on this right side and the left side. There were 2 carbons each. We numbered it on the right side first because that's where we had the double bond. We wanted to give that the lower number. So the double bond is starting on carbon number 2. But where do we put the 2? Do we put it all the way out in front? Technically you could, but it's so far from what it's referring to that there is another and perhaps a clearer place to put that 2. You could put it immediately in front of the En. Now we have letters here and we're going to put a number in, so we have to put dashes on both sides, but you could put the 2 in there. Always between numbers and letters goes those dashes. So you could have it hept2-ene. And that says that the double bond starts on carbon number 2. So the backbone for this would be bicyclo-2,2,1-hept2-ene. So now we would just have to worry about the branches. And we can see that with our numbering scheme, our first branch is coming off of carbon number 2. Now I'm going to circle in orange the backbone, the 2 rings, so that we can clearly see what the branches are. Our first branch is coming off of carbon number 2, so always between numbers and letters goes a dash. That branch only has one carbon in it, so the prefix is meth, and because it's a branch, immediately after that comes YL. The other branch is coming off of carbon number 3 of the backbone. So 3, always between numbers and letters, goes a dash. This branch also only has one carbon in it, and so the prefix is meth, and because it's a branch, immediately after that comes a YL. These are both the same type of branch. They're both methyl branches. So we can smush them together. We can take the two numbers, separate them by commas, so 2, 3, always between numbers and letters goes a dash. And you want to, with the types of branch that we smushed together were methyl branches, and never forget to, whenever you put smush branches together, to include a prefix that tells people how many you smushed together. We smushed 2 together, so that we're going to include the prefix di. So this is going to be 2,3-dimethyl. So we have those names, the names for those branches, and we have the gigantic backbone name. The names for the branches always come first. So the full name for the molecule will be 2,3-dimethyl bicyclo-2,2,1-hept-2-ene. So it's a beautiful name because it gives a clear indication of every single thing, placement, structure in that molecule. So that's hopefully a nice review of how to name bicyclic compounds, and you could see how it changes just a little bit when you have a double bond.